Hey guys, it's been a while. Now with me, we have our future cardiologist here, Alejandra.
Hello.
If you want to introduce yourself to the viewers.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Alejandra. I am a third-year resident, and I am also from Venezuela, like Emmanuel. So I don't know. We'll learn some things today, I guess.
It's very hard to match, and then it's harder to match into fellowship. But she made it. We're very happy and excited to have her now join the cardiology team here in Masonic. So if you want to let us know, how was that journey for you? Like going from ING, IM, and now cards.
It's been a long journey, obviously, because I think part of being IMG is the fact that everything doesn't happen one thing after the other. You have, at least before, I think now people are being a little bit, having an easier transition, but at least before, the steps were something that you really had to just dedicate a significant amount of time of doing. To me, it was like a 3-year period of just trying to get a hold of it, trying to figure out what I wanted to do and how to get to what I wanted to do. It's very different coming as an outsider and trying to find how are things done here? What are the steps that I need to follow? Who do I need to know? Because the reality is that a lot of it is, who do you know? And that's one of the key things about getting into the system. So truly the beginning of it, I think kind of happened surprisingly, because I didn't know that I was going to come here until a month before I came to the US. But I graduated med school December 2016, came right after. I really did Kaplan. I think before, back then that Kaplan was really the big thing that was getting people into coming and preparing for the steps. So did Kaplan for about a year, I want to say. I thought I wanted to do surgery. So I kind of geared everything to that and what do I do for that? Looking for rotations, looking for the things to get in my resume to really show, that I could be in the system, that I could succeed in the system. So all that was a pretty big part. I did a couple of rotations. I did one outpatient cardiology rotation in Detroit at Heart and Vascular Institute. I volunteered here for a year. So that was a big thing. I think that actually helped me a lot to get the system, because I was able to kind of go through the charts. I learned how to chart review for the first time there. I was able to kind of see familiar faces and really get myself involved within the medical system. And then I did a sub-I in surgery that haunted me throughout my interviews later on. And then actually that surgery sub-I really was something that kind of opened my eyes to, I don't think that this is necessarily what I want. I don't think this is a part of medicine that I love. And it steered my decision into, no, I think I'm gonna do internal medicine. So then applying, my volunteering here helped me get a couple of my letters, and then my other opportunities helped me get the rest of the letters, and then choosing, where am I going to go? What's the next 3 years of my life going to look like? I wanted to be somewhere that I felt really supported, because I think residency is really hard, and you hear about it, everybody says it, but just like medicine, everybody's always telling you it's really hard, you're it's fine, I'm tougher, but it is really hard, and it's a lot of time. So I wanted to be somewhere where I was going to be at least happy throughout that time, not miserable.
Now that you finally match where you want to be, what would you say made your application stand out? Because cardiology is very competitive. What would you recommend our people?
Well, I think the reality of the U.S. and especially the U.S. medical system is that it's a system that's very propelled about what's next, what's in the future, what's the next big thing. Always kind of looking back into what did we do wrong and how can we not do it again, and also looking forward into, okay, how can we do better? And that all comes down to research. That was, I think, one of the hardest things that I had to kind of learn, because back where I'm from, in Venezuela, you learn about research, you learn how to kind of go through it and read it, but you don't really learn how to do research in the way that they do research here. So that was a pretty steep learning curve, and it kind of all boils down to that. There's a big part of your presentation, of your resume, of who you are as a candidate, that really comes down as to what have you done for research, where have you presented it, because a lot of it is just also the merit of who has seen your research and how valid is that research. So it's not about just having like maybe like a windmill of publications, but having publications that carry weight within the field that you want to do. For me, I was very, very fortunate that one of my friends, who was a third-year resident by the time that I started residency, he's actually from Caracas. We met from before, and he is very good at doing research. Like, that is his thing. And I came to him and I was like, look, I want to do cardiology as well. I really need to figure out how to do this. Can you please help me? And he gave me work. He gave me a lot of work. And it takes a long time, because on top of that, research is not fast. Research takes a lot of effort, and it's a lot of trial and error, and it's a lot of just when you think you're done, there's somebody that says, oh no, can you change this phrasing? Or, hey, this is too similar to a different thing. So, but it helped me learn a lot about writing it, a lot about kind of what is interesting and how to frame it. I still think I have a lot to learn, because there's still things that I just don't really know like how to do or how to move forward. But I think research is one of the biggest things, honestly.
A lot of people also question whether step 3 is as important, like the score for a fellowship. What do you think about that?
Honestly, it did not come up for me at all. And it was funny because I could have taken my step 3 before residency even, and for my residency it did come up. I had an interview with one of the program directors, or I guess the former program director for internal medicine, and I asked them, I was like, hey, like, I'm thinking about taking my step 3, like, before applying for residency, what do you think? And I remember that they were like, oh, it only matters if you take it and you do well, because then it will be taken into account. If you take it and you do poorly, it will also play it just against you. And so that freaked me out, and it made me not take my step 3 until second year of residency, which it was very stressful. But for fellowship, it honestly didn't come up for me. It was pretty much all about your resume, like, what have you done, where have you been, what's your kind of what do you want to do. And a lot of it is also really the program trying to find, you can tell during the interviews that it's a lot of the program trying to find like a really good fit for their culture and their environment. Because you're at this like in between level where you are somewhat of like an attending, or like you're a practicing specialist, but at the same time you're still training. So I think a lot of places want this kind of like very well-rounded individual to come into their and be the face of their program.
Now, when it comes to matching in a community program, what would you tell those applicants that are interested in fellowships that match in community programs and might not have as robust access to a research team?
Like, I actually did a lot of self-research on that when I was applying. I was trying to really, because for residency, there can be, I guess, a valid discussion as to like, oh, you want to go academic, you want to go, or you go community. I was trying to figure out if that was the same at the fellowship level, and a lot of the parts, there are some pros, obviously, of going into academic. A lot of what I found is go academic if you want to stay in academics. And to me, and this also came up actually in a lot of my interviews, because a lot of the places will ask you, especially academic places, like they will ask you, what is your like academic professional outlook? And for me, like I love working with residents, I love working with med students. I don't really see myself as being like a core faculty necessarily. Maybe that will change, but like right now, that's not what I'm envisioning. So I think going somewhere that is like primarily academic, that's what you will get. Like, you will get in that track, and that's probably the biggest difference of community-based. You'll just have a lot more access into the community. You'll have probably a lot more procedures. You'll have that exposure to what you'll most likely end up doing. And it's really funny because I was talking about this with Miguel, and he had the same outlook. He's like, if I really think about it, this is what I will be doing in my career. Like, this, getting the exposure, like the day in and day out of the practice, is what I want to be doing long term. So kind of that's how he knew that it was a good fit for him. For me, same thing. Like, it's definitely the level of exposure to procedures. It's the fact that we do have a great valve team, and that Advocate in general is really pushing into being kind of like at the forefront of kind of heart and vascular in Chicago. There are people that I'm really excited to work with here because they do what I want to do. And so
what is it that you want to do?
I want to do interventional and structural. So kind of
Nice.
like Dr. Driver. That's what I want to do. And he is one of the people that I'm really excited to kind of work with and learn from and kind of get into how do I get at that level, because that's what is really interesting to me and what I'd like to do eventually.
Can you tell us briefly, lay terms, what cardiology means to you?
Well, honestly, I don't know. It's very personal. I think I've always kind of had this fascination on the heart. I am always kind of marveled at what we can do and what we learn from it, and how much it's just really the center of it all. And I think that's why every single phrase that talks about getting into like the important part of it is the heart of it. So to me, I'm really looking forward into going into what I want to do, what I like, and learning more about it and becoming even more fascinated with it, and eventually, hopefully, even being able to like intervene in it and fix it.
Thank you so much for joining us
course,
today,
thank you for having
Alejandra. Alrighty, so this was Alejandra Diaz with us from Venezuela all the way up to Chicago.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. Take care.